Hey guys, so today I want to make a video that I've been wanting to make for a really long time since I finished The Wheel of Time a few months back, so let's get into it. Alright, so here we go. I'll go ahead and go through the tiers and what I named them. So Ascendant basically means that it transcends the Wheel of Time. That means that if I wanted to recommend one of these books, that this would be something that I would recommend to someone regardless of whether they wanted to read the rest of the series or not, just as a book by itself, that I feel like is so good that I can just take it and pluck it out of the Wheel of Time and give it to a friend and say, hey, read this, and I think that they'll actually really enjoy it. So that's going to be a tough bar to hit. And then great means obviously just an amazing book within the Wheel of Time or just in fantasy in general, but you still would have to kind of have the context for it to actually be good. And then good is just, it's a good book of the Wheel of Time. It's not perfect, it's not great, it's kind of self-explanatory. And then meh is I could take it or leave it. It's just kind of there. And then bad is bad. And I wanted to also say spoiler warning for the entire Wheel of Time. You have been warned. So we're going to start with The Knife of Dreams. This may be a hot take. I think this book is actually a little overrated, and I think it kind of gets bumped up because it is the last book that Robert Jordan wrote before he passed, and it was kind of an escalating book, so it had kind of been flatlining in the slog. So this book actually moving things forward and getting some resolution, I think that people just were so excited about it. But actually just looking at the book and how I felt as I was reading it, I thought it was good. Yeah, I'll go with good for now. Everything that happens with getting further into resolving the whole White Tower plot, obviously the confrontation with Cimaraj, Towers of Midnight. I actually like this book more than a lot of people, actually. I'm gonna probably put it before Knife of Dreams. So a lot of people didn't like Matt in this book. I thought he did a really good job with Matt. I think he kind of made Matt like a caricature, like he's just comic relief, and he was kind of like made him too much of like a shtick. Like when he's talking about women and things like that, it kind of went maybe a little overboard. So I do agree with that. It was a little jarring, but I still enjoyed Matt a lot, and I think that he did a good job of embracing the parts of Matt's character, which is my favorite thing about Matt, to be honest with you, other than just his loyalty and just willingness to put himself in harm's way, and also the snarkiness of, he won't actually admit that he's a good guy and things like that, so he's very charming. The forging scene with Perrin was amazing. The trial was not that fun to read, but the whole thing with Moraine. The last part of the book, obviously, was just, it was 0 to 100, and I actually really enjoyed this book tremendously. The Great Hunt. This one for me, no-brainer. I'll just hand this book to a friend and say, hey, read this, you'll love it. Could be a standalone book, it's just that good. The creepiness of it, the horror, you're still enough in Rand's head, but you're still getting other perspectives. The whole stuff with Egwene was just crazy. The Damani stuff just is as horrific as anything in this entire book, and that's saying this book's got Padan Fain and torturing Murdral and stuff like that, and the whole putting people in cook pots thing, like that's kind of got kind of corny toward the end, or that phrasing, like putting them in a cook pot, it just sounded really cartoony in my head, like they're just literally picking a whole person up and just like Looney Tunes style throwing them in a cook pot, and they're like slicing carrots and stuff. But in this book, he portrayed it to where they were like just gore, like chopping them up and just tossing bits into their weird bubbly black mud stew. That's just the vibe I got from this entire book. It was like gritty and dark. Got another banger, The Shadow Rising. I'm gonna go with top of great for now. I do wish the battle in The Shadow Rising in the Two Rivers, that it was a little longer, I guess, because it kind of seemed like it happened just all of a sudden, like they were losing and it didn't really feel like anybody of consequence really got hurt, and then all of a sudden Fael's coming over the mountain like Gandalf, and she's got all these people from the other villages, and then it's just over. And another thing I didn't even mention was the fact that Perrin's entire family gets murdered. That was like the most gut-wrenching stuff where he finds that out. Like, my God. Man, the fires of heaven. So, I don't know how people really feel about the series. I've kind of seen it all over the place. Like, it's good, it's meh, it's great. I'm going to put it right behind Shadow Rising. I loved the Fires of Heaven. It was like a countdown to some big event, but you didn't know. And it was like you were holding your breath the entire book. And obviously the Matt and Couladin stuff, just him getting a moment to finally have his like arrival as a important character in this book, not just like the funny friend, that he can actually do stuff. And basically he's just trying to not get killed, but he just keeps accidentally, I guess, veering into all these people and having to fight his way out, and then trying to avoid him and fighting him again, and just stumbling into that conflict with Couladin was just hilarious and a good choice by Robert. I just wish he had shown it on screen. Man, this, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put that right there. There we go. A Memory of Light. I really appreciate that Brandon finished the series. And he did a really good job. Out of the 3 books of the end, this is probably the one that I enjoyed the least. I think that the battle, I know it had to be extremely long. I feel like for as long as it was, that when we got to the end of it, I didn't really feel like enough happened of consequence. So we've been building up to this for 12, 13 books. It felt like they were scared to kill off someone we actually cared about. I know Egwene died, and that was badass as hell. But I felt like one more needed to go. Moraine, that would have made the whole thing with the Towers of Midnight and the wait to get her back really pay off. I know she was there for like emotional guidance and helping Egwene and Rand kind of settle their differences. But I felt like it should have been more than that. And so I felt like either she should have died or Perrin should have died. The more I get away from it, the whole Padan Fane, I think they kind of dropped the ball a little bit with the last battle. Not that I'm not satisfied. I thought it was a really, really good ending to the series. I would probably put it right here. I think it's still really good. Crossroads of Twilight. Don't really have to talk about it. The Crown of Swords. So I'm actually really high on this book. Basically just because it had a lot of Matt. And obviously the Nynaeve and Lan stuff. The Golem. The Tywin stuff was really weird. That does take it down a peg. I actually don't know the purpose of that being in this book. And there was really never a payoff for why he made this choice to have Matt be sexually assaulted. It was really weird that he didn't really have a whole lot of negative feelings about it, or never had a lot of introspection about it. It was a great book in that my enjoyment, but actually, I don't know, that definitely takes it down. I think I'm going to put it there. So the Dragon Reborn. The conclusion is really fast-paced. It's really cool. I was glad that we were done with Baalzamon. It was a repeat of the same thing of the last 2 books. Moraine balefiring the shit out of Forsaken was cool. I think it's good, but for the series and in context of all these rankings, I'm going to put it in meh. Maybe on a reread, I'll like it more. The Eye of the World. I don't think I remember everything that happened in the end, because people were talking about him destroying a horde of Trollocs at Tarwin's Gap in that. And I think I must have just, I don't know, I may have been like falling asleep while I was reading that. I don't remember that at all. So maybe that'll help me like it more. I did really like it though, but I think, again, in context, it's so derivative of Tolkien, and I know that's on purpose, but just for pure enjoyment, I don't think I would rank it as high. Ooh, The Gathering Storm. Yes. Alright, I'm putting this one in great. Behind The Shadow Rising. There was definitely a tone change and a writing style change that was noticeable from Knife of Dreams to The Gathering Storm. But that's fine. Overall, I thought that the book, especially with Egwene's, that was so badass when she was fighting off the Shan-Chan, just blasting dragons out of the sky. And also the fact that she linked in a circle with a bunch of novices, even though she was so dosed on Forkroot or whatever that she couldn't even really channel. God. Just for that reason alone, I mean, this book is amazing. And it also finally resolved the whole White Tower thing. The Lord of Chaos. Again, I think this one's going to be a hot take. I'll probably get some crap for this. This book really dragged for me. Really, really bad. It's actually a lot like Dragon Reborn. I'm pretty confident that on a reread, this will go way up. Really good foreshadowing and things for the rest of the series I think I didn't pick up on while I was reading it the first time. The best part of this book is Rand being stuck in the box and talking and partnering with Luz Theron to get out. And when he gets out, and just the unleashing of power and like automatically stilling like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 Aes Sedai, I don't even know. And then the whole kneel or you will be knelt. I mean, that, golly, I'm getting chills. A New Spring, I'm going to go above Crossroads of Twilight, but just as a book by itself. I mean, it was interesting because I knew The Wheel of Time. Actually, I could see reading New Spring before the entire series. Like, if you're doing a reread, like reading New Spring and then going into The Eye of the World, I think that would actually be really cool to see Moraine and Lan and Swan and Cadsuane, and then jump into The Eye of the World. And then when Moraine and Lan pop up, you get that whole like, hey, that's them from the thing. And then later on when Cadsuane pops up, you're like, she's Black Aja. And then, you know, she's not. Oh, I forgot to mention, in Knife of Dreams, the whole Varen, you know, the dress you're wearing is green, or whatever the hell she said. Oh, wait, did that not happen in this book? Shit. That is actually my favorite moment in the series over the Flicker or the last battle. I mean, think about how many extra channelers that would have been in the last battle for the Side of the Dark. I mean, that could have actually turned the tide very easily, especially with the Sharan channelers and Demandred. Varen may be my favorite character, actually. I'm discovering things about myself as I do this. Winter's Heart has one of the best moments of the series. I'm going to put it in good. And I think just for that moment alone, I'm going to put it over Crown of Swords. The Slog, man. If they could have just tightened down those exposition parts and just wishy-washiness with Perrin and all that kind of stuff, and just had these set pieces at the end of these, and they would have been bangers for sure. They would probably be a lot higher. It's actually got some nice symmetry to it. I think this is good. So Great Hunt, #1, Fires of Heaven, Shadow, Rising, and Gathering Storm. It rounds out the top 4. Then Towers of Midnight, Memory of Light, Lord of Chaos, Knife of Dreams, Winter's Heart, and Crown of Swords. Then Eye of the World, Dragon Reborn, Path of Daggers, and Meh. And New Spring and Crossroads and Bad. So I like this list. I think it was a process getting there, but I think this is accurate for me and how I feel about the series. So let me know how you feel, or what you think should have been ranked higher or lower, or just let me know your thoughts down below. And peace.